Hello again, I'm Dr. Margaret. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to a questionnaire to discover where you might be on the spectrum of perfectly hidden depression. But first, let's be clear. Perfectly hidden depression is not a diagnosis, not at all. If you walked into some doctor's or even mental health clinician's office and said, I think I have perfectly hidden depression, unless they'd followed me, read my book, or had seen my TEDx from 2023, they probably look at you like you were a bit strange and ask, what do you mean, perfectly hidden depression? So, if it's not a diagnosis, what is it? I've called it a syndrome. Probably the most well-known syndrome in mental health is codependence. That's not a diagnosis either. That term was originally used by people who were in a relationship with an alcoholic, who were enabling the drinking to continue by making excuses for them, etc. So they identified themselves as codependent on alcohol. So what exactly is a syndrome? A syndrome is a group of behaviors, things you do, beliefs you have, that govern your behavior. In a syndrome, you tend to find these beliefs and behaviors together, kind of like salt and pepper. So I've identified 10 traits or characteristics of PHD or perfectly hidden depression that are often found to exist side by side. You see one, you're likely to find another one. I've been writing and speaking about this syndrome now for 10 years. And although people argue with me that I'm pathologizing courage or resilience, which I'm not, we'll get to that in a minute, I've had lots of comments from readers and podcast listeners alike that they see themselves in these traits. And if they've come to see me as a client, they'll tell me how terribly fearful they are of changing any of them. But they're also afraid of staying the way they are. Let me touch on what I said a minute ago, that I've had pushback from people saying that I'm pathologizing or seeing something wrong with people who are getting on with their life, not being crippled by the bad stuff that happens to them, people who are tough, resilient, who know how to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and as someone said to me just today, live by the rule that you don't spread your crap around. Now, these people may be the same who think therapy in general is something only weak people do. I can solve my problems myself. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I admire people who seem to push through, who find purpose in going forward, who face terrible hardship and find a way to cope and even thrive. But there's a subset of that group, people who seem like that's what they're doing, but seem is the most important part of that sentence. They seem fine. They'll tell you they're fine, but internally, they are far from fine. There is something from their past that haunts them, that they're hiding from as best they can. And what's even more troubling, they may have no idea of how things from their past might be affecting the present. And those people are that subset who are at risk of living a life of loneliness because no one really knows them. They feel they must always meet everyone's expectations of who they've let everyone think they are. Like living up to an image constantly. Or tragically, they may end their secret torment by killing themselves. That's who I'm trying to reach. So, before I list those 10 traits for you, what I'd like to suggest is that you go to the link in the description and take the questionnaire. It'll take you maybe 5 or 10 minutes to click the link, take the questionnaire, and get your score. I'd love it if you took the test first, so you respond without knowing exactly what the 10 traits are. I'll be back in the next video with more info. You can always write me at askdrmargaret@drmargaretrutherford.com with questions, or you can leave a comment on this video. I look forward to shedding light on your results in the next video. And until then, take very good care.